Great is your faithfulness. And it doesn't matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can always know that God is faithful, that He is reliable. He is the only one that's worthy to be trusted, worthy to be praised, and knowing that in every situation that we may find ourselves, no matter what that situation is, we can be sure that our God is faithful. And so let's all remember that today as we do whatever we do. Just know that our God is faithful. He is the only one that we can trust, no matter what's happening, no matter what the season is. Whether we're in pain, whether we're happy, whether we're excited, whether we have to stay at home all this time and just do what God has called us to do, just know that God is faithful, and wherever we are, God is there with us and He'll find us. Over the last few weeks, we have been looking at this, these questions and answers, Q&A, God's questions and your answers. That's what we've been looking at. He has asked questions to Adam, He asked questions to Eve, and He asked questions to Cain. And as we're going to see, as we've seen already, none of them was able to answer those questions accurately, honestly. They all found a way to skirt around the questions, to just dodge that, evade it. Today, we're continuing with the answers. God's questions, your answer. Actually, it's on God's question and your answers. We find that humans give a lot more answer that God is asking them. And I don't know where you are this morning. I don't know what your situation is. Some kind of pain in your life, some kind of suffering in your life, some kind of, maybe you feel alone, maybe you feel lonely. And it's possible, I'm not who are listening to me directly here, but others who may be listening to us, in other media, feeling rejected, feeling cast away, feeling, not valued by anybody. It's like nobody seems to care. You feel, some may be feeling used and dumped by people, and it's as if they have no value to themselves and they have no value to anyone else. When you look at everything that has happened to you, somehow you might feel, I'm partially responsible for what has happened to me. Maybe I was a little bit naive. I didn't make the right decision. I didn't treat people nicely. I wasn't really, behaving well. But in the course of time, things have gotten rough. Things have gotten rough with you, and you've had to make some tough decisions based on the knowledge you had at the time. You made some decisions based on how you were feeling at the time. You were hoping that everything would work out well. But as it stands, things didn't work out great as you thought they would. They have not worked out great, and now you're feeling more stuck than you were at the beginning. I'll give you some examples. It's possible, someone out there, a young woman, they left an abusive relationship. They were hoping for freedom. They were hoping for joy. But now, things are tough. They're now realizing that it's really hard to survive alone, to survive on their own, to be able to do the things that they wanted to do on their own. Things are not working out great for them. Now they're wondering, did I make a good decision? Was that the right thing to have done? Or another example, someone quit their job. Maybe you quit your job. Quit your job wanting to just strike out on your own to make it. Start your own business. And you gave up the certainty of a steady paycheck every month. You gave up the prospects of getting retirement benefits at the end of your work life. You wanted to make it on your own. Everything looked great at first. Yes, you were doing great. You had customers, you had business, and everything was going great. Exciting. but unfortunately COVID-19 hit or something else happened in your life and you had to close shop. You had to close. Revenue is gone. Customers are gone. The way you were doing business, all of that changed, and now you're barely making it. You're just hanging by the thread to feed your family and to pay the bills. I'll think about another example. A young person, teenager, or young adult said, you know what? I got a job. Everything is looking good. I'm gonna go try living on my own. I'm gonna go get my own apartment and live alone because I believe I can do this. I can handle this on my own. They got it all figured out in their head. Yes, you had it all figured out. But months, or even a year, or 2 or 3 down the road, you realize that, oops, things aren't looking exactly as I had thought they would. Just different experiences. Or maybe someone left the big church. They left their big church and said, you know what? Hey, God is calling me to go plant a church. I'm just going to, take off from this big church where I had everything. I'm going to take off and go plant a church out there. I have the call of God on my life. I'm convinced that the Holy Spirit is leading me, so they go. We've been there. And they go out to plant a church to do something that they believe very confidently that God was calling them to do. A membership wasn't a problem. Money wasn't a problem. All you needed to do was just show up, just show up. The people would be there. And now, just down the road, their feeling is like, did I make a good decision? Was that the right thing to do? I mean, because I can basically count all my congregation members. I can basically count them all on the fingers of one hand. And they're thinking, God, did I hear clearly? They don't have money. They have no equipment. They have no live worship. They have none of that at all. They don't have a great facility. Well, God has blessed them now because at least they have Zoom and all the other, Facebook Live. They got all that. So everything is looking good in that sense. But my point here is that, you made a decision. You took a step. You wanted to do something. Maybe you did in your right mind. Maybe you did it in anger. You got frustrated. You made a decision to get out there, to strike it out on your own and just go, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And you went out. Or maybe you had a better reason. It was rational. You thought about it and everything was cool. At first, everything was great. In the story we read, we see a young woman who was in a similar situation. Hagar. She was pregnant. I mean, she'd been bad to her mistress for sure. And her mistress, Sarai paid her back in kind. Paid her back in kind and said, okay, you're going to be bad to me? I'm going to be bad to you too. I mean, think about that time. Being pregnant was a big deal. I mean, having the prospect of a child was a big deal. I mean, seriously, if you consider that we're living in a time when a woman's identity was wrapped up in her ability to have a child, if you realize that, then you're going to know that these two ladies are in a big competition right here. Because one of them, Sarah, is old, past childbearing age. And as far as bearing a child goes now, as far as that goes, she's totally hopeless. Even though God is still telling them, you're going to have a child. There's just no way, no human way of looking at that and seeing any kind of possibility at all. But the other young woman, Hagar was a young woman, obviously more attracted to the older guy, Abraham. She has a lot of prospects ahead of her. And now she's even, she is pregnant. She's pregnant, not just pregnant, she's pregnant with the only child that Abraham is going to have. I mean, humanly speaking. She's pregnant with the heir of Abraham. That's a big deal. Carrying the only promise of posterity for Abraham. And you know, given this scenario right here, ladies, you know that. You know that right now, given this scenario, this house, wherever they lived, is too small for the two ladies. That's not going to happen. Somebody needs to go. Somebody needs to leave. And it doesn't matter how they left. Someone needed to go. I mean, Sarai, she might be childless, but she's experienced. She has experience. She has a lot of knowledge. She was still the matron of the house. I mean, she was the mama of the house. It doesn't matter. I mean, Hagar, you might be pregnant, but Sarah is still the mama of this house. So what does she do? With her experience and knowledge and everything, she said, I'm going to show you. She engaged. She started what real estate experts would call a constructive eviction. She started a process of constructive eviction. See, I'm not going to kick you out, but when I'm done dealing with you, you're going to be better leaving than staying back here. That's basically what she did. She made life difficult for this young woman, made life difficult for Hagar until Hagar realized, I want out of here. I don't want to stay. I can't stay here. And Hagar is now running away. Running away because she couldn't continue to bear this torment. Running away because, it's just too much. The emotional abuse is too much for her. She can't handle it anymore. She's running away. Looking for hope and freedom. Yes, you're running away from home, but where are you running to? She had no idea. She's running away from the only comfort that she'd ever known. I mean, basically, this is the one comfort she had known, at least lately. I mean, prior to this time, as we know, life had gotten better for her. She was a servant. She was a servant, but now life has gotten better for her. Seriously, I mean, graduating from slave or servant to wife, the wife of no other than Abraham, and now being pregnant, going to be the mother of Abraham's heir. Husband is wealthy. Husband is influential in the area. He is well known. I mean, seriously, she is living the dream. I mean, she was living the dream before this all happened. And it did get to her head, didn't it? She started flaunting this trophy that she has. She started flaunting that and making life difficult for Sarai. And now Sarai says, you know what? You got to go. Think about what has happened here. Think about what has happened. She was sure that having this child for Abraham, in fact, being pregnant and then having the prospect of having a child for Abraham was going to increase her acceptance in the family and raise her status and win her respect in the society. Everything was going to be great for her. That's what she was looking forward to. That's what she expected. But look where she ended up. She ended up, at least for now, with rejection. She's ended up for now with loneliness. That happens in life, doesn't it? And I don't want to just talk about her alone. Oftentimes, even the Bible presents Hagar from in a bad light somehow. And you see that it's often from Sarai's point of view. But I'm trying to also look at this whole thing from Hagar's own point of view. Because really, you can't just blame her alone. You also have to look at Sarai herself, because Sarai was the one who started this whole thing. She had her own expectations too. Unable to have a child, and she says, you know what? I have an idea. You know, there's a young woman around here who might be able to have a baby on my behalf. So Abraham, go take her, make some babies, and when these babies come, she's just going to solve this childlessness problem we have in the family. She's going to solve this, provide an heir for you, Abraham. Just go ahead. Take her to be your wife. And we know her expectations. And now, things have changed. She didn't get what she was wanting, especially because she wanted something at the expense of what God was planning for her. You know, I like to say this, that trying to help God, it never helps us. Trying to help God never helps you. It only complicates matters for you. It only hurts you greatly. So as we see, Hagar has been, forced out of the nest. I mean, at first, it probably looked like, hey, I could probably make it on my own. I can make it on my own. But now, she's out in the cold, probably no food, probably no water. No one else can take her in. Just no one to talk to. Just her and the unborn baby. She's wandering in the desert, in the wilderness. And wondering as well, as you might be probably doing this morning, does anyone care? Nobody even came after me. No one is trying to find where I am. Even Abraham hasn't come after trying to look for me. Is that how much love they have for me? She's wondering, does anyone care? Does anybody see me? Does anyone even see the pain that I'm in right now, the pain that I'm living with? How am I gonna survive? I mean, I run away from home, but how am I gonna survive? How am I gonna make it? How am I gonna make it in the wilderness? How will I take care of this baby in this wasteland? How can I do that? I don't have a roadmap. What am I running to? Will I even be able to carry this child to term? Will I even be able to survive? Probably questions that she was asking herself. I mean, seriously, I know where I'm running from. I know where I'm coming from. I don't know that for sure. I know what I'm running away from. It wasn't the most comfortable place. Emotionally speaking, it wasn't that comfortable. But I tell you, it was way better than being in the middle of nowhere. It was way better than this. I was fleeing rejection, running away from rejection to something that I haven't quite figured out yet. It's probably things that she was thinking about. And nobody around. No one to talk to. I mean, this child is kicking, doing all that he can do. But there's no one to tell about what's going on. There's no one to tell about the excitement or the discomfort of this very lively baby. I'm all alone. I'm lonely in this place. I mean, the morning sickness, there's no one to talk to about that. Well, and something happened. Something happened. In the middle of all these questionings, in the middle of all this wondering, in the middle of all this, what am I going to do? Something happened. A voice out of heaven asked her a question, where are you coming from and where are you going? Talking about questions. It's the voice of someone that knows her. This person knows her really well. This voice said to her, and he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? It's interesting. This person knows me really well, knows my name, and knows that I'm the servant of Sarai. And they're asking me, where are you coming from? And where are you going? I mean, and it's the Lord. The Lord knows her very well. The Lord knew that she was a servant of Sarai. And if the Lord knew all that, wouldn't the Lord also know why she was running away, where she was running away from, and where she's running to? I mean, this mission to know where. The Lord should know that. But as is very characteristic of the Lord, as is characteristic of him, he doesn't go ahead and tell Sarah, Haggai, everything about herself. He doesn't. He asks a question. He asks her a question that would help her to get her to reflect on the choice that she has made. A question that would help her to determine if this is, have I made the best decision? A question that will help her to assess herself, to know whether this is the right decision or not. Is this the right time to run away? To know whether she's doing what she needs to be doing at the time, to assess whether, hey, do you know where you're coming from? Have you thought about it and realized that, yeah, it is actually better here than it was there? Or that it was better than you're finding it here? Just questions to get her to think whether it is better to leave at this time. Is this the best time to leave? And did you live in the right way? It's not like I don't know where you're coming from, but I want you to think about that. Did you live in the right way? Did you do what you were supposed to do? Because you just can't run away without even giving that relationship the best shot you got. Without even trying to do what you just can't run away from your problems. Perhaps there's something you needed to have done before leaving, before running away. Is this the right time? By the way, do you even have a plan? Where have you come from? And then we go to the second part of that question. And where are you going? Do you have a plan? As we read in Genesis chapter 16, verse 8, he says, where are you going? I mean, perhaps Hagar had thought about this before. Perhaps she thought about it, okay, I'm going to run away and I'm going to run to maybe, I don't know where I'm going. Perhaps. But now that the Lord has asked her that question, she now has an opportunity to really hone in on this question and really know, oh, where am I running to? Because it's one thing to be running away from a bad situation, but it's a whole different reality to run to a place that you haven't figured out. To be running to something that you have no idea. You have no idea where you're running to. I mean, seriously, have you seen a teenager before? Teenagers. They got mad at home. They got really mad. Mom talked to them a certain way. Daddy talked to them a certain way, and they said, I'm out of here. I can't do this no more. I'm out. And they run out. They probably didn't take their backpack with the clothes. They took nothing. They just stormed out. I'm not coming back to that house. And they run out. And I'm sure some of you have experienced that too. Maybe you did it too, or someone around you did it. And where are they running to? Running out of a bad situation. At the end of the day, where did they end up? They go over to McDonald's. That's where they go. And they didn't have a lot of money in their pocket. And soon that money is going to be gone. And they're not thinking, there's no refrigerator here that I have access to. They're not going to let me sleep at McDonald's. Nighttime is coming. What am I going to do? None of that. Just angry and stormed out in anger and just wanted to just get away from a bad situation. They end up in a parking lot somewhere. Usually parents, some parents are nice. They go out looking for them and things like that, and maybe bring them back home. But in Hagar's case, she's basically lost. She's confused. She's stranded. And being stubborn as she is, she's not going to go back home. She won't. She's run out, and the pride in her is not going to let her go back home. Bad news, nobody's coming to look for her. So what is she going to do? What is she going to do here? No family members are looking. No friends are coming after her. Nobody. None of the servants is saying, where is Hagar? But unknown to Hagar, the Lord was looking for her. God of compassion. God who still continues to look for us even in our pride. God who continues to look for us when we disobey Him. God who continues to look for us even when we want to run away from Him. Adam, where are you? I heard your voice, I heard your sound, and I ran. When we're running from the Lord, He is looking for us. Hagar is running away instead of doing what she needed to do, but the Lord was looking for her. The Lord knew her situation. The Lord knew her and sent out His angelic search party to find her. And as we saw in the story, the angel of the Lord found her. Found Hagar. And we get a better example from her because Hagar did better what Adam and Eve and Cain couldn't do well. They had a hard time facing up to their problem. They had a hard time telling God, yeah, this is what I did. But Hagar, when asked the question, where are you coming from? And where are you going? She answered straightforward, honest. Chapter 16, verse 8. She answered the question there, the B part. She said, I'm fleeing from my mistress, Sarai. You gotta, basically, you can relate, you can understand why I'm running away. I'm running away from her. It's bad out there. It's hot. She was making life difficult for me. I'm running. I'm running from home. That's pretty good. She answered. Basically answered the first part of the question. Yeah, I'm running from home. Where are you coming from? The question went, and he says, I'm running. That's a good example. Do you realize that our deliverance, your deliverance doesn't start until you agree. Until you agree that you are lost, until you agree that you're helpless, until you admit what is going on in your life, you don't get delivered. You don't get out of your situation until you admit that what you're doing, that you're lost, and that you're helpless, that you have blown it. And that's all that God wants us to do, to accept, to believe, to confess to Him that, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm not even asking you to feel sorry about it. Just admit what you've done, that it's wrong. She said, I'm running away from home. Doesn't answer the second question, but she does get some reassurance, though. Some reassurance that someone has seen her. Someone cares enough to ask her. Someone cares enough to come looking for her. She's reassured here. That's good enough. Hearing the voice of another being is good for someone in Hagar's situation. But that's not enough. The Lord doesn't just find us. The Lord doesn't just come to us. The Lord does something. He does something else. He gives us an instruction. Tells us what to do. Yeah, I heard you. I know you're running from home. But here's what I want you to do. God encounters us and He gives us a direction. The Lord Jesus Christ, met Paul, Saul of Tarsus, met him along the road to Damascus. And after their conversation, Paul is asking, well, now what am I going to do? He says, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the house of Ananias. He will tell you everything that you need to do. Saul had a choice. to do what he was told to do or not. As Sarai has in this circumstance, the Lord says, I want you to do something. I know that this is probably not what you want to do, but that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to do something. I want you to go home and behave. Go home and behave, the Lord told her. It's like, ouch, why? I don't want to go back there. Don't you know the pain I was facing there? Don't you know what I was going through at that house in the house of that lady? Go home and behave. The angel of the Lord said to her in verse 9, return to your mistress and submit to her. Wow. I want you to return to your mistress and submit to her. Sometimes we're convinced that we're doing the right thing. We're convinced that we should just leave. But the time is not right. Sometimes we get angry and we want to get out of a place, get out of a relationship or whatever, whatever it is. We want to get out because we think it's too painful. We focus on the other person, what they're doing that is not right, how they're making life difficult for you. But you never take a look at your own self and ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing that's making life difficult for others? We're convinced that we should go. We haven't done everything we needed to do. Go back. The Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Because that's what's wrong. Go back and show her some respect. Show her some love. If it's your wife, go back and love her. Go back and take care of her. Go back and apologize. The very thing that you didn't do before, Hagar, you didn't apologize to her. You never said, I'm sorry for treating you the way I'm treating you. Go back and do just that. Wow. Because that's the right thing to do. You and I will never rise to the destiny that God has planned for us. We're never going to rise to the height that God has destined for us until we fix our present. Until we fix our past. That past that we want to just escape, that we just want to run away from it. We're not going to grow past that until we fix it. So sometimes we think the solution is to escape, to run away. But God says, no. First things first, go fix it. Go do what you need to do first. Go say, I am sorry. Go and love like you'd never loved before. Go take care of the situation. Go find out if there's any way that you have offended the other person and you overlooked it. You got blindsided. You only saw what they did. You never saw what you did to them or what you're doing that was causing the problem. That's the number 2 thing. God has encountered her and God has given her a direction. But that's not all. That's not all at all. Every encounter that we have with the Lord comes with His self-revelation for us according to the season of life in which we are. Every time we encounter God, He shows Himself to us to address whatever pressure, whatever suffering, whatever pain that we may be going through at a time. God reveals Himself to Sarah in 2 ways. Because anytime we meet God, He's going to reveal Himself according to the current situation that we're in. He's going to reveal Himself according to the struggles that we are going through at the moment. He revealed Himself to Sarah in 2 ways. First of all, I am a promise maker. I don't just come and show myself to you. I don't just come and tell you what to do. I make you a promise. I tell you what is in this for you. There's a blessing because God is the one that blesses. He never comes without a blessing. He doesn't meet us and tell us what to do. Just do that. But He blesses. God is either making us a promise or restating His promise or fulfilling a promise. Anytime. You can be sure of either of these things. So the angel of the Lord in verse 10, the angel of the Lord also said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for a multitude. Hey, Hagar, chill. This is time, as young people might say, take a chill pill. Relax. Don't get too, excited. I mean, get excited, all right, but don't get hung up on this one baby that you're going to have. Don't let this get to your head so much, because you know what? I'm going to give you babies, so many children that you can't count them. If you start tripping about this one baby right now, what are you going to do when I bless you with so many children that you can't count? If you start tripping about the little money that I've given you right now, the little one that you just have, what are you going to do when I open up the windows of heaven and rain down money, rain down, prosperity for you? What are you going to do? Can you even handle it? So relax. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to give you children. I'm going to multiply your offspring. You can't number them. There's plenty more kids where this one came from. Obviously, Hagar is consoled at this point. She's consoled. She has a promise from the Lord. Whatever the Lord is saying to Hagar, that's the same thing he's saying to you. In that situation that you find yourself, relax. God's got your back. No one else seems to care. No one else is coming after you. No one else seems to value you at this time. I mean, seriously, no one cared enough to go looking for Hagar. No one else seems to care much about you right now. But God is saying, I got you. If you do what I'm telling you to do, just go back and do it. And I will bless you. And I will bless you. Hagar is consoled. She is reassured. Everything's going to be okay. Wow. Abraham has failed me. I mean, he didn't come looking for me. As far as I can tell, he's not anywhere looking for me and saying, Hagar, where did you go? I was thinking maybe Abraham's God has done the same thing too, but now I know. The God of Abraham cannot and will not fail. He's always looking out for me. My baby is going to be okay. My baby is going to be fine. I'm going to be the mother of a great guy. Boy, that's so reassuring to her. I mean, the very thing that's a big deal. That's what was causing the trouble. This baby, that's what was causing the trouble at home. But now she knows, my baby is going to be a great guy. And by the way, yeah, it's not only Sarah's baby that's going to be a great guy. My baby too. I mean, I'm sure she must have overheard that God had promised him a baby who was going to be a great person. But now she has a promise. God is saying, I'm going to bless you. The hand of the Lord is upon her to bless her, not because of her, but because she is associated with Abraham, who is a friend of God. And I want us to know today, I want all of us to know, I want you to know where you are, that your well-being and your destiny, they don't depend on your current circumstances. They don't depend on that at all. Your well-being doesn't depend on the neighborhood. It doesn't depend on the city. It doesn't depend on the country in which you live or in which you were born. It does not depend on that. Your current hardship or whatever things you may have lost during this time or in the past, those things don't determine your destiny. What counts is the abiding presence and the promise of the Lord in your life. That's what counts. Because God sees you right where you are. God sees you where you are, and He's going to give you the right message that you need at the right time. None of us is so lost that we can't be found. You're not so lost that you cannot be found. You're not so far away that God cannot reach you. I mean, the darkness around you is not so dark, so thick that God can't find you. God sent his angel to go look for Hagar, and the angel of the Lord found her and reassured her. And the second way the Lord revealed himself to Hagar. And this is going to be Hagar's own determination. Hagar is going to assess everything that's going on, and then make a conclusion based on that. That this God is a God who sees me. This is the God who goes looking for me, the God who's going to find me when I'm lost. The one who sees me and cares about me. The one who knows where I am and the one who knows how I feel. That's going to be Hagar's conclusion about this God. Isn't that great? It doesn't matter what Abraham may have told her about this God that he was worshiping. It's always good for us to discover God ourselves, to come face to face with God ourselves and make our conclusions and decide for ourselves who this God is. God reveals himself according to our need for the time. So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. She called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. He said, you are a God of seeing. You got eyes. You see everything. It doesn't matter where people are hiding, you see them. And not just that, for she said, truly, here I have seen him who looks after me. If no one else is looking after me, I have seen the one who looks after me. And the ones who look after the other people, when they look after me, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind. But this one right here, I am never too far away for him to see me. I am never too lost for him to find me. He not only sees me, but he cares about me. He looks after me. He protects me. He watches over me. And you and I, as I said before, when God, God always reveals himself to us according to what we need at a time. He always does. When you're sick, you see the God who heals. That's the one you need. When you're lonely, you see the God who's a friend and who is a companion. When you're confused and stranded and lost, you see the God who lights the way. When you're stuck somewhere, you see the God who knows where you are and who sends emergency aid for you at a time. When you're weak, you see the God who is strong and is able to strengthen you. That's how it happens. God never shows us everything about himself at once. He shows us what we can, the aspect of himself that we can relate to at the time, according to our need, according to our struggles. Hagar needed assurance. She needed assurance about her child, needed assurance about herself that everything is going to be okay, that her child will be okay, that the hopelessness of this season, that it had an end. It wasn't going to last forever. She needed that. She needed a friend. She needed someone that would talk to her, someone who would show her, you are valuable. I care about you. I love you. You are that valuable, so valuable that I will come after you. Like the story of the prodigal son, like the story of the man who lost his sheep, and he went after it, looking for it until he found it. The lady who lost her coin, she swept everywhere, looking for that coin until she found it. That is our God, who is always there looking out for us. She needed to know that she was cared about. And that's exactly what she got. Well, obviously, as we can tell, in continuing to read the story, we can tell that, Sarah, Hagar did go back. She went back home. She went back to be with Sarah and Abraham. Yeah, obviously, she went back to the luxurious comfort of Abraham's house. She did. There's food, there's water, there's everything that she needed. And being the wife of Abraham, you bet she had some servants running around and taking care of her. And especially now that she's carrying the master's baby, some people were just going about taking care of Hagar. And you're probably thinking at this time, now you're thinking, and they lived happily ever after, the end. Don't get your hopes up on that at all, because it didn't happen. This was short-lived. This wasn't going to last at all. It wasn't going to last. Because sometimes, quite frankly, with God, we need to go back and fix what we need to fix. We need to go back and amends, restore the relationship. We need to do that. We need to go back and show love and respect. We need to go back and apologize. With God, we need to do that. We need to live the right way. But I tell you, sometimes going back to your former job after you left before, it's probably not a good idea. And going back to wherever you were running from, wherever you were leaving from before, it's not always a good idea, because oftentimes you're going to realize that whatever caused you to start running in the first place will most likely intensify and cause you to leave. And this time, forced to leave, kicked out for good. That could happen. That could cause you to get fired permanently. But for Hagar, the reprieve of the moment was great. It was great for her to know that she was loved. It was great for her to go back and make amends. It was great for her to go back and get this breath of fresh air during these early months of her pregnancy. But as we know, the worst is yet to come. And if you want to know anything about that, you're going to have to come back next week when we go to next set of questions, or the question that the Lord asked Hagar when we get to chapter 21. And this morning, I don't know, like I said at the beginning, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're on the side of Hagar, or the side of Sarai, or the side of Abraham. What side are you? We've talked a lot about Hagar, and she found out that the Lord cares. But there's something to be said about Abraham too. It's better to listen to the voice of God than to listen to the voice of any other person around you, and it doesn't matter how close to you they are. To listen to the voice of God and to the voice of anyone else. I don't want to say the voice of your wife, but, or your husband. If they're telling you what is right, then do it. But it's better to listen to what God is saying than to that. If Abraham hadn't made the mistake he made, he was like, oh, well, if that's what you want, go ahead and take my servant. Okay. Your wife tells you to do what is wrong, what is contrary to the plan of God, contrary to the will of God, and you say, okay. And then when trouble burst, when the trouble started, the same person that led you into that, of course, you were spineless to have made that decision. But the person who led you into that says, you know what? You are responsible for all my problems. May the Lord judge between you and me, because you got me into this situation. You got her pregnant, and now she's bad to me. Why? The person who is tempting you, the person who is trying to get you into trouble, is going to stand aside and accuse you eventually. of what you did. They're going to turn around and blame you for what you did to them. Or maybe you're on the side of Sarai. Wait for the Lord, please. When the Lord has made you a promise, wait for the Lord. Don't try to help God. Don't try to help God. Especially when what you're going to do is totally contrary to what the Lord has told you. Don't try to do that. Because when we try to help God, it never works. We hurt ourselves. And we create a problem that's going to last forever. As we can see in the world today, we can see that from that one mistake that Sarai made. It's not a big deal. Just take my servant. Let her have babies. We're going to help the Lord out a little bit. And for you today, it may not be that. But for Sarai, that one mistake has created all the troubles we have. You look at the Middle East, and you're going to understand what I'm saying here. Look at Israel and the rest of the Middle East. From that one bad choice, wait for the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Wait for him. Because he will fulfill his promise to you.